All right, project 2. This one, students find are at least a little simpler, so that's good. At least y'all will probably enjoy that. The idea is we're going to do a basic HTML parser and a basic HTML crawler, but I'm going to simplify this a lot just to make it a lot easier to do, because if you try and parse general HTML, you are going to pull your hair out. And if you try and, well, back in the 90s, crawling the web was easy. Nowadays, it's filled with so much annoying JavaScript you want to like strangle someone. But anyways, so a project divided into 2 parts. The first one is to build an HTML parser that determines if your HTML tags are balanced, and we'll talk about what balanced means in a moment. And the second part is find the number of web pages you can visit from a certain HTML page. So the first one is finding out if it's balanced. The second one is how many pages can you crawl to. All right, so first one, basic HTML parsing. It's important to know your HTML tags are balanced for, I guess, rendering purposes. So this is balanced because now HTML and HTML, and then you have body inside of it and bold inside. The tabbing doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that the body tag begins and ends, next to the HTML essentially. Same thing with the bold. Because each tag has a begin tag followed by the end tag at the same level depth. So this is level 0, level 1, level 2, etc. The following is not balanced because notice that the bold tag, they try and end the body tag when they're inside of a bold tag, and that's no bueno. So body tag, the bold tag's trying to end it inside the body, it is not balanced whatsoever. All right, here's a simple explanation. So HTML, so your HTML page starts with HTML and then includes body. Let me use my mouse pointer so this is a little clearer what this table is telling you. So it starts with this text, has body, which is defined over here, and then ends with HTML. Great. And the body starts with body, has text defined over here, and then body ends over here. Text can be a string or a string followed by text, aka it's defined back itself again, a tag or tag text. This may be a little hard for people to read if they're not used to it, but just think of it as a very simple HTML web page. That just has HTML body, bold, italics, a link, and a URL. So a tag can be a bold, italics, or a link. A bold one as the beginning bold and some text inside of it. Again, that's more of this up here, followed by an end bold, italics, same thing with I. A link has a specific signature. One thing I try and point out is that the anchor tag is going to be strictly in that format. I'm not going to put in quotes or put in extra spaces or anything like that. The anchor tag is going to be strictly in that format just to make our parsing a lot simpler. And the URL is just a string. All right. So your first task in part 1 is to find out if I give you an HTML page, is it balanced correctly? Also, you may have tags missing or extra tags or whatever. An extra end tag. Once you have the basic HTML parser, write a web crawler to determine the number of unique pages that can be visited from a certain page. For example, all right, let's go and look at the example here. When I initially wrote this, the class really liked Pokemon. I don't know if Pokemon's still a big thing for y'all growing up. Yes, no, maybe. My son loves it right now, and he's 7. I guess it just doesn't go away. I mean, there are far worse things in life. way worse. All right, so inside of project 2, there's a directory called pages, where I've given you a couple of pages. Notice that indexed has an anchor to Pokemon, and then Pokemon has an anchor to the end, and then the end is done. So if you're at index, you could visit, let's see, what do we got? Index, you can visit 2 pages. Pokemon can visit 1 pages. The end can visit 0. And not balanced is not balanced. And if a page is not balanced, it cannot visit any pages, no matter how many anchors you put in it, because it has to be a valid HTML page or we are going to reject it. All right,
The end has no links, so it's 0. Just make sure I said everything correctly. Not balanced has no links since it's not balanced. Pokemon can visit the end, so it's and is valid, and a dead end, so it has 1. Index can visit 2 pages, even though it only has 1 link, because you have to go down to Pokemon and down into end. Notice that this could actually spiral out if you have multiple anchor tags, then you can visit numerous pages. Also, keep in mind, the visit amount is the amount of unique pages. So if you go back and visit a page you've already visited, that does not count towards the total. So in other words, if the n pointed back to Pokemon or back to index, index would still only be 2, even though there's a loop because there's no additional unique pages. Ooh, that's not good. Someone didn't plug in his battery. Any questions so far? All right. Nothing? All right. So the first part of this is parsing. I've gone back and forth about whether I should build the parser or not, and I've decided that it's best if you all learn how to do this. You to read a file and parse the input. Before we go into parsing, let me go look into a little bit more about how the code is set up. I have already written a main for you, and I highly recommend you stick to it. The way main works is after you compile it, you're going to pass in basically all the pages, and then it's going to parse them and then run them out. So let me go look or show you how main works, because that'll give you a better idea about the flow. All right, so here's main. Program main, by the way, you don't need to worry too much. That just gives you what the name is. HTML parser is the class that y'all are creating. So let's go take a quick look at that. Whoops, that's the CPP. Hopefully pretty simple. Constructor, destructor, parse a file, ask if it's balanced, and then get the number of pages it can visit. So that's the class, so I create an instance of it. For every argument passed to this function, or passed to this program, it's going to first get the page and then see if it can find it. And if we're not at the end, then you go ahead and parse it. So in other words, before I ask is balanced or page visit amount, I'm going to call parse on every file. So the first thing I do is I call parse of the file, so you can pre-process whatever you want to do, and then later I'm going to ask if it's balanced or visit page amount. The reason I do that is because for some of y'all, y'all like to do a bit of pre-processing, and that makes perfect sense. If you don't want to do pre-processing, that's okay. You can do all your calculations in these two functions. The parse function is there as a convenience in case it helps you out. Then we're going to go through again and ask if it's balanced and print yes, is or not, or it basically is or is not, and then call page visit amount on the number of pages. And that's all this program does. So going back. Now when I did star, that may be a little confusing what that did. What that's actually doing is calling this. So you just keep passing all the HTML pages you want to send to it. All right. So at some point you're going to have to parse. Read a file, parse the input. It may seem daunting, but here are a couple of things to help you out. A tag always begins with a less than and ends with a greater than. Tags do not have a less than or greater than between the starting less than and the ending greater than. Therefore, once you see a less than, parse or read in all your characters till you get to the greater than, and that string is your tag and attributes. So right there you know what your tag and attributes are. All tags except the anchor tag will have no attributes or white space. That means the body tag will always be body, and of course the ending body tag will be /body as well. But there will be no spaces for those tags. The anchor tag will strictly be in the form of a space href equals file name. There's not going to be any extra spaces or anything else. I'm going to keep it strictly in that format to make parsing easier for y'all. If you encounter a tag that's not valid, then the page is not balanced. AKA, if it's not something that's supposed to be that I've described, just get out. Don't try and make it nice to the user. That's not the point of this lab. The point of this lab is to start getting used to how you parse and how to do balancing and how to do web crawling. I will ensure all tags are lowercase, so you don't have to worry about cases. To ignore white space, parse everything one character at a time, ignoring space tab, new line, and carriage return. AKA, all these things, they don't matter. A couple of hints. We've used arrays, linked lists, pointers, stacks, and queues. Chances are you'll be using more than one data structure to solve this problem, but you only need the ones listed actually to solve it. If you're familiar with the STL, you may use vector, stack, queue, and list as well. I didn't put that down. From the STL library, you can also, of course, use cout, but don't use anything else. I don't think they have an HTML parser. Again, hopefully if you have experience from Project 1, these take a lot more time to complete. It's best if you start thinking about it. I highly recommend you do a little coding here, a little coding there, just to get your mind going about what's going on. If you hit a roadblock, and you should/will, please come talk to me. When you talk to me, be prepared to show me what you've thought of so far. If you have an idea, I will guide you to a good solution. If you come without an idea, I'll tell you to keep thinking. That's just got to get you started on coming up with ideas. Keep in mind there are many good, fair, and terrible solutions to data structure projects. Oh yeah. You'll be in charge of your test cases. It's due October 28th. I think that's 2.5 weeks. Unfortunately, due to the hurricane, we have lost a little time. I think normally when there's a hurricane, I have already assigned project 1. So we didn't lose the week in our project schedules, but this time we did. So it's going to be a little compressed. So definitely get started now. Again, no teamwork. Any questions? No question? Really? All right. Okay. Well, that's project 2.